What's up, everybody? Today we're talking about autistic imposter syndrome. It's super, super common. So if you're landing here because you're feeling it, you're in the right place. Let's get into why it happens, the cost of it happening, and different ways of coping with it. So autistic imposter syndrome is extremely common for people with autism. It doesn't mean you're not autistic if you're feeling this kind of doubt. I took a deep dive into why this happens and the fact that I found that it is common in people with autism, especially people who are self-diagnosed or diagnosed later in life. It's super common, and it's also super common for people without an intellectual disability because of the way that other people might perceive them or see them as not autistic. It's very, very common. So let's get into the reasons why we're predisposed for having imposter syndrome first. So the first reason is lateral thinking. Lateral thinking is creative problem solving. It's finding various solutions to a single problem. So if we're thinking about our mental health as a problem, which isn't necessarily a thing, well, I don't think our brains are a problem, but if we're having struggles, then trying to solve those struggles, we might come at it from various different angles. We might think, oh, maybe it's not autism, maybe it's PTSD. Maybe it's not autism, maybe it's bipolar disorder because I go up and down. Maybe it's anxiety and I have to really focus on like calming my nervous system, and that's what it is. And the truth is, things really could be a multitude of things. We even know, like as women, that our hormones have a big effect on our mood. So it's probably true that there are various impacts onto a person's mood or behaviors or symptoms. That doesn't negate the possibility of there being autism. Imposter syndrome about having autism is extremely common for people without intellectual disabilities, and that's primarily due to other people's perception of what autism looks like and how they might respond to you when you tell them that you're autistic. They might really, really doubt you, and you might internalize that doubt and have your own set of ableist beliefs about yourself. Oh, I'm probably just being too much. There's such painful thoughts, but just this idea of like, I'm probably making it up. Like I probably just want attention, stuff like that. It's just so painful. It's very, very familiar to me and extremely upsetting to think about, but nevertheless, very common. Also, people assigned female at birth and queer people on the LGBTQIA spectrum, or people who are not white might have a harder time receiving help or a diagnosis. That's because most of the research up until now, things are getting a little bit better, but research has mostly been done on autistic children, white boys, and so people really don't know what it looks like, or they're really just scratching the surface of what autism might look like for white girls and white women, and they're hopefully doing some research on people of different ethnicities that aren't white also, but truly, like, I don't know. And I think that most of the research that's been compounded and built upon itself has all been from this perspective of like, this is a boy thing. This is a boy condition. This happens for children. This happens for, it just blows my mind that they could think that it could happen for children and not for adults. I don't understand. But that leads me to another point is people are likely to doubt autism when they think that if you're an adult now and you haven't found out you're autistic yet, why would you not have found out you're autistic as a child? And again, this is because girls are not found out. People without intellectual disabilities are fly right under the radar. People are really just starting to learn more and more about different ways that autism can look. And so you might just like not appear the way that autistic young boys of a specific type of autism, or like the Asperger's, which is a controversial term, but people who are like autistic and have like really, really kind of savant levels in certain areas, the people think of that as autistic, like Sheldon Cooper, or they think of people who have inability to speak as autistic. And so if you don't fit those categories, you might not be perceived as autistic. Because the research is still catching up, as I always say, and it's really frustrating to live in a time like this. But at the same time, here we are, at least we have each other. Another reason is because people that you're really close with, people that might know you quite well and that you love a lot, might not believe you to be autistic. People don't understand and know what autism looks like. I mean, probably the reason why you know so much about autism is because you relate to autistic behaviors and traits. If I'm talking about myself specifically, I know way, 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 way more than any of my family members about autism because I've been studying it hardcore and relating to it for years and years and years. My relatives don't know that much. They are really not up to date. They have antiquated beliefs about autism. And so people that know and love me so much might come up with reasons why I am not autistic, reasons why, different reasons that explain away, that invalidate the idea of autism for me. Even medical professionals can turn a person away. They could even mock you for even bringing it up. This has happened to me. Psychiatrists might misdiagnose you. It's super, super common. That can create a lot of insecurity in labeling oneself as autistic. So something I mentioned a little bit earlier is the idea that like there are various aspects that could be affecting your mental health and your behavior. So you might, if you have autism, you might also have ADHD or OCD. You might have PTSD, which is actually super common. A lot of comorbid, which is kind of like, sounds like a negative term, but comorbid just meaning like two things can be true at the same time, or two or more. So you could have various conditions at the same time, and they might hide the autistic characteristics. And so you might think, well, you know, I'm very social and impulsive, and that's different from what autistic people say that they have. And so I must not be autistic because I actually like to be like spontaneous and blah, blah, blah. And you don't have to relate to every single like characteristic in order to be autistic. You might have some different conditions that kind of create different behaviors in you. We also mask a lot, so masking is another reason. If you're constantly masking and trying to portray yourself as somebody that somebody else in your life wants you to be, then you might not really know what your true self is. You might not know what it's like to actually stim. You might not know what it's like to actually take care of your sensory needs. So you might not even see those autistic traits because you're constantly pushing through discomfort and forcing yourself to behave in ways that aren't even true to who you really are. Now, unmasking is a really complicated and long-term process, but masking might create this sense of self of that could be false. It can create this feeling of like, who am I actually? Like, am I really making it up? Because I can push through this. I can behave normally or in certain ways that are socially acceptable. So if I can do it, then does that mean I'm not autistic? And what people don't see is the toll that the cost of behaving in very socially acceptable ways, like how much effort it takes to pretend to be the way that other people want you to be. This feeling of like lack of trust in oneself can just be really, really painful. And you might find yourself in relationships with friends or loved ones where they don't actually know the real you. And so they might say, oh, well, you're probably not autistic because I haven't seen you do this or this or that. And you're like, well, that's because I hold that in all the time. I don't show you that because I thought you wouldn't like me if I showed you that. Or I've shown people that in the past and I've been punished for it. So I'm actively trying not to show that anymore. So masking, that can be a big one. So self-diagnosis can also create an insecurity in labeling oneself as autistic. But self-diagnosis is a really, really valid way of diagnosing or understanding oneself, especially when a formal diagnosis is inaccessible. Formal diagnoses can be extremely, extremely expensive. Your insurance might not cover it. And it can also be, there can be a really long wait list for them. I've heard about that happening in the UK. If you relate to autistic characteristics and self-diagnose, that's really, really valid. So just throwing that out there. Now, there are a few reasons why having autistic imposter syndrome can deteriorate a person's mental health. Now, this is something that I touched on a little bit, but the way that it can really, really hurt your own self-trust, I think that's just the hardest, the worst one. And that's something that I've dealt with a lot when dealing with psychiatrists and stuff like that, and having a really strong, being very observant about the way that my mind works and really trying to report that as clearly and honestly as possible, and having people twist my words or not listen carefully or tell me I'm something that doesn't make sense to me can just be really, really confusing. It can make a person doubt themselves, really, really wonder, am I crazy? Why do I think this if it's not true? Why does this professional think something different than what I think? Why is what I think not connecting with what other people think? Why? Now, a really great way to take care of that part of yourself that doubts yourself is to read from autistic authors, watch autistic content, and maybe like engage in autistic forums or find an autistic support group. There are late diagnosed autism support groups that you could join, and just finding a place that can be really supportive, people who are on the same wavelength as you that you can talk to about this stuff can probably help your mind be a little more at ease, that you don't have to feel like you're constantly defending or explaining yourself. You don't need to do that. And I'm sorry that you've had to do that thus far. So that self-trust is just, it's such a painful thing to lose. And so I'll be on this journey with you, trying to develop and foster my self-trust as time goes on, so that I don't doubt myself and so that I can be my own best friend. And I really hope that and wish that for you too. And I will share along my journey the ways that I'm able to do that. If you doubt your own autistic experience, you might mask more, you might push yourself more, you might ignore bodily signals, you might have more anxiety. You might constantly be wondering what people want you to be doing and really, really, really trying to fit yourself into a mold that is suitable for them. This can be extremely draining. This can lead to increased anxiety and increased burnout. When we're not taking care of our sensory needs, when we're not taking care of our mental load or our social battery, we might really head towards burnout more quickly. And it's so sad because those things can be avoided for the most part, or just at least lessened, if we are able to take care of our sensory needs or advocate for ourselves. But another thing that keeps us from getting support is we will start hiding it, not talking about it because of how people responded when we did talk about it. We might not confide in people about what's really going on with us. We might really find ourselves having more secrets, more loneliness, struggling in silence, feeling like our challenges aren't big enough, we're not autistic enough to mention, or the idea of like, they're not going to believe me anyway, why would I talk about it? Another way to support yourself is to find a neuro-affirming therapist to work with. I think even meeting with them one time could help. Obviously, therapy is meant to be over time, or even finding a neurodivergent or a neuro-affirming coach could be really, really helpful. But not waiting or forcing yourself to have like an official diagnosis in order to receive support could be really, really helpful. I've even heard about people getting support and then that leading to a diagnosis in the future. But you know yourself best. And if you need help, find people who do understand. Even if it's just in my comments section, I will respond to you if you leave a comment. I'm really sorry if you're experiencing autistic imposter syndrome today. I just want to let you know that you're enough. You're not alone. It can be really, really challenging to have so much self-doubt, but all of these fears or struggles don't make you any less autistic. I want to let you know it's okay to go through these ups and downs, but please be gentle with yourself and allow yourself to sort of foster your self-trust. Be kind with yourself. When you find yourself saying in your mind, oh, you're lying, you just want attention, you're not being honest, it's probably just this, it's really not that bad. All those things, though, that's the fear talking, that's the negative self-belief talking. Really try to neutralize the subject. Let yourself learn more about the full autism spectrum. Take your time with it. Let yourself learn. Be kind with yourself. Get curious about the way that your body and your mind react to things. Remember, you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. This is your journey. This is your pace. This is your mental health. I know it can be a lonely one, but please, please, please just comment below if you need a little support. Just put a heart or a broken heart with a little band-aid. I can send you a little love back. And if you feel like sharing about your experience, feel free to do that too. If there are any other topics you're interested in talking about, hearing me talk about, I'd be happy to do some research and talk about them too. I'm on this journey with you. We're gonna get through it one day at a time. Remember to just slow it down, take a drink of water, make sure you're eating enough, and just give yourself a hug. You deserve it. It can be a real challenge, but we're in this together, and I'm so, so glad that you're here. I hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you next time.